Hi, and thanks for joining us as we celebrate International Women's Day, a day dedicated to honoring the achievements of women around the world, raising awareness about gender equality, and advocating for women's rights across all sectors of society. This year's theme at CIBC, Accelerate Action, reminds us of the ongoing journey toward empowerment and inclusivity. At CIBC, we believe that diversity and inclusion are not just keywords, they're not just ideals, they're essential components of our success. We are dedicated to creating an environment where every individual can thrive. Notably, 46% of CIBC business banking clients have a female owner, and 18% of them are solely owned by a woman. These statistics highlight the significant role women play in the business landscape and the importance of supporting their entrepreneurial endeavors. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined by Anna Sinclair, an award-winning entrepreneur and agency owner, advocate of women entrepreneurs. She's here to share her inspiring journey as a working woman, entrepreneur, and mother. Anna, we're so excited to have you here with us today.
Thanks, Cynthia. I'm pleased to be here.
Anna, let me start by asking you, what drove you here? How did you get into entrepreneurship, and how did you know that it was the right journey for you?
That's such a good question because I truly feel like it hasn't really been a linear experience for me. I never even thought I would become an entrepreneur. It kind of fell into my lap. I really find that, growing up, I wanted to work for myself. I always had these bizarre ideas about, how logos could be redone or how these marketing statements could be reset. And so I felt like early on I knew that I was going to be sort of leading my own path. I really got into the entertainment business quite young. I was assigned pop artist, an actress, and a casting associate. So I was doing a little bit of the casting directing and really just understanding all of those aspects of everything that goes on behind the camera, in front of the camera, the marketing, the PR, and it just gave me a little bit of a foundation to entrepreneurship without even knowing. And eventually, I got pretty far in my music career, but lost a record label because I was pregnant. And so I had this whole entire season in my life where I realized, wow, becoming a modern-day working woman and a mother, there are these special challenges that come with that. So I didn't really see a lot of personal and professional supports for women. And I started my first company called Total Mom. And it's been such a wild journey. And it started from that company and then went into this agency. And it fills my cup for sure.
That's very interesting to hear. And I love that. Just entrepreneurial in and of itself, there weren't the resources, so you just ended up building them.
Yeah, I looked around and most of the women that were becoming mothers were experiencing this gray area of, do I go back to corporate? Do I start my own side hustle? And what I ended up realizing is that my community, they weren't just starting side hustles, they were starting companies, they were starting businesses. And I truly felt like those setbacks, those barriers, they weren't really being addressed. And it just inspired me to sort of look at my community and say, what do these women need to still chase their career? What do these women need if they want to have a career and a family? And so it's just been such an incredible ride seeing and meeting so many women that are juggling their motherhood and their business.
And was there ever that breaking point where you realized, I've made it? What are some of the accomplishments that you're proudest of?
It's funny that you said that I've made it. As women that are driven and ambitious, we tend to have the ceiling always rise higher. There's always something else to do. There's always something else to chase. There's always another goal, another achievement. And so we often are working on those day-to-day things that we forget to actually pause and say, wow, I actually did make it over and over and over again. And so when I look back at my career, I think one of the most significant I made it moments was definitely when I got inducted into the WXN Top 100 Most Powerful Women in Canada.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I ugly cried. It was incredible. And I think it really validated hard work and commitment. It validated that what I was putting out there was needed, and it put me on this other platform. It opened up so many doors for me, and I think that, I started getting into these rooms with powerful executive women until I realized, wait, I am a powerful executive woman. And so my breakfast started looking a lot different. I think also another moment was when, the Canadian Women Entrepreneur Industry Gala, this massive project that was in my brain and in my head actualized into award-winning industry event. And, I would look to the left and the right, and it would be all these big brands and companies that I, grew up loving and dreaming to work with. I think that validation too was, this wasn't a project anymore, it's a movement. And, I'm not just trying something, I'm doing something. So yeah, lots of things to be proud of, but yeah, those two really stand out.
Well, that's very insightful and probably true, not just for entrepreneurs like yourself, but probably for everybody, recognizing and contemplating your successes and taking a pause and kind of bathing it in. But with successes come bumps. What would you say are some of those failures that shaped your own journey, and what did you learn from them? And how do you think that they shape female entrepreneurs?
Well, I think every woman experiences failure differently and reacts to failure differently. I think at the end of the day, it's just true. We have so many expectations, and there's just all these layers of complexities behind what does failure mean? What does it mean about us as women, right? And we're always fighting to get to the top and do the things that we want to do. And sometimes the little failures can feel like a little reminder of, am I doing enough? Am I doing it well? And so it's very different, but I think that women entrepreneurs should use that as a superpower. Failure isn't the end, it's part of the process. And if we could just remember that it's going to keep happening and just get better at facing it and looking at what can we learn from this time and that confidence, it just comes from within. So it's over time you build it from the failures, I guess.
And I find that so insightful because it's really about reframing perspective, reframing failures, how they're part of the journey to success.
Well, you know what I always say? I say that entrepreneurship is a series of over-glamorized failures, like disguised in like a hot roll, It's just, you're going to fail all the time behind the scenes, but in front of everybody, they always see the success and the wins and all those moments. So I love kind of sharing online the good, the bad, and the ugly, and really bringing the, I guess, normalcy of failure in entrepreneurship to the table. So yeah,
that's great.
Definitely agree with you.
Let's pivot. Let's talk about motherhood. How did motherhood impact your professional journey? And what would you say about the elusive and evolving concept of work-life balance?
Work-life balance, the big hot topic, that's always annoyed me. I feel like work-life balance kind of implies that you can have balance with your work and your life. But if you really think about it and you really look into it, it's more about alignment, and it's more about going in and out of alignment. I feel like work-life balance just means, I've got to strive to do both things and balance them. But, one day you're going to pour into your business, the other day you're going to pour into your family, and one day, one's going to hinder, and the other day, the other one's going to get all the love. So I think it's more about work-life integration, and this is something that I found really early on is what brought me so much success, even with my company Total Mom, is I realized that I was finding a way to incorporate my family into my business and my business into my family. And I think I just started integrating, how can this all work? How can I get a little bit of my family while I'm on a business trip? And how can I get a little bit of work done, but also get my personal time? And so it's not about finding the perfect balance. It's about finding the right processes and systems and resources and building that village around you that can truly let you do what you want to do. Work-life balance, like who has that, really, honestly?
Well, listen, that resonates with me, and I'm sure with all of our viewers, and probably looks very different for everybody. Do you think that the concept of balance is an evolving one or a changing one for women entrepreneurs?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of women are starting to recognize that we don't have to do it all. We don't need to show up to the plate and always be on and know everything and do everything. I think more women these days are feeling more comfortable asking for help and reaching out. And I think for a while there was a lot of guilt and shame around having nannies in the home or even asking someone something because you thought, maybe that just means I don't know what I'm doing. But a lot of the women I'm around nowadays are so empowered and so inspiring. And I think it's just about setting up those systems and processes. Like, I truly feel like mothers who are in business understand what I'm saying. You just have to sort of look at all of it at a high level and just put everybody in the calendar, put all the things together and have somebody in charge of everything. And actually, it allows you to sort of step away or take those breaks or go on a trip without something going awfully wrong.
Like a small business, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah.
What advice would you have for those that are looking to build their brand and their networks?
I think it always boils down to sharing your story, showing up authentically, trying to tell people like who you are, why are you even doing this business, and kind of letting people into your life a bit. I feel like obviously it's very difficult to share very intimate and personal stories, but sometimes that's what lures people into, realizing that, hey, you're the person for this business. You're the one that should be making it. And I think that, making content from the very beginning, even just following behind the scenes, your journey of doing what you're doing as a small business can let people follow along, like keeping them engaged into what you're doing and seeing you grow and shine. Early days, I had to really share what it was like being a working mother and having these small children and running this company. I think that's where the women started resonating with me. And so one day I was blinking and I realized, wow, we hit a 65 million reach, and this wasn't just a little project anymore. It was a movement, and it was national, and we started winning awards. And I think that's when you realize, okay, people are looking and they're watching, and you have this platform. And I say platform because platform really is the word that every entrepreneur should know. You're not just running your business, you have a platform, you have a voice, you have a story. And I think early days, the better that you can get at figuring out what your founder story is and what your small business story is, the better that the whole world will be able to kind of follow along and, know you.
Oh, that's great. And as an angel investor, you're all about building trusting financial partnerships.
Yeah.
What do you look for in a financial partner to ensure your own success?
Well, I think just being a small business owner, you have to wear all the hats. You have to do so many things, whether it's the marketing, the financials, just there's so much to do and it can be so overwhelming. And I think with a financial partner, it's just so nice to have that mentorship and that advisory, asking for that help and really asking the questions about cash flow or projections and making those decisions early days. I think I made a lot of mistakes in the early days, and I wish I felt comfortable earlier to say, hey, do these projections look correct? And, what should I do and how should I make these decisions? And I feel like having that mentorship and that advisory is so critical to women entrepreneurs. Financial literacy is sort of the empowerment that we should all be focusing on. And as a financial institution, it's so nice to be able to just look at your bank and say, they're not just holding my money, but they're holding space for me to grow as a business. And so just having that relationship of, going to an advisor and checking in and feeling like they've got your back, that's definitely, I think, the most important piece.
Anna, you've shared a lot of great insight with us here today, but if you were to pick one or two tips that you would give women entrepreneurs or women that are looking to delve into entrepreneurship, what would it be? And what would your message be to women that are struggling to find their voice and their place in entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I get asked this question a lot, and I feel like you have to do something that you love. You want to pursue something that's close to your heart, something that, is mission-driven, that, you could be heart-centered around, because at the end of the day, it's going to be really hard work. There are going to be a lot of tough days, and during those tough days, if you really care about it genuinely, and it's something that you're going to wake up and go to sleep thinking about, you'll ultimately be able to get through that much better if it's something that you like versus something that you're forcing yourself to do. So I always like to look at the work that I do as impact work. And so if you're a woman entrepreneur and you're thinking about something that you want to change people's lives around, get into that early and try to think about sort of how does that motivate you? How can it motivate others? That'll get you through all those hard days.
Well, thanks so much for your time today with us, Anna. It's been great
My
to hear your inspirational
Yeah.
journey, and I know that it's resonated with women out there and women entrepreneurs that are finding their
Thank you.
path. You can learn more about Anna at annasinclair.ca and follow her incredible journey as a woman-owned agency owner, mother, entrepreneur, and angel investor on a mission to normalize the needs of women today. As we wrap up our discussion, I want to emphasize a core belief we hold at CIBC Business Banking. Entrepreneurship stems from identifying and solving real-world problems. We recognize that every entrepreneur has a unique mission, and it is our privilege to support them in realizing their ambitions. And as I like to say, living vicariously through them. At CIBC, we are dedicated to enabling all entrepreneurs out there making a difference in the world. We understand that the entrepreneurship journey can be a challenging one, and we're here to provide the resources, guidance, and financial support necessary to help you thrive. Thanks for joining today's discussion, and we look forward to seeing you soon.